All right, continuing on to 5.10. Now, 5.10 is going to we're going to be looking at proportions again with cross products. Now, we should have remembered these from last year, and it may have even you were thinking about it in our last section, 5.9. You're like, I think there's an easier way to solve these proportions. And guess what? There is. But in order in math to understand the tricks, you have to first go through the hard way. So let's start off with a friend, our friend Jemiah. And Jemiah is a litter bug. She drops cans, bottles, and wrappers everywhere. Well, she gets in trouble, and she has to then go on a cleanup to clean up litter. And she has to pick up 10 pieces for every piece that she dropped. And she dropped 15 pieces. I hate spelling the word pieces. I'm terrible at that. So we're going to solve this using cross products once we define what they are. So recall that we were talking about proportions. And they are formed with equivalent ratios. So we would have 6/12 equal to 1/2. And I can use tricks to manipulate them. Well, when we write out a proportion, I could write it like this. I'll just call it a proportion for now. I could say it like this. A to B is equal to C to D. Because I don't necessarily need letters in here. I don't need numbers. I can always use letters. And because of my rules with ratios, I can then manipulate it to say this. A is to B as C is to D. Because remember, I can always write them with colons if I want to. And the key here is that we have different names for these sections of a proportion. We can say that these on the inside here are called our means. And then here on the outside, we have our extremes. Oops, a little too far. Oh, that green doesn't look very different. I should have used a different color. And how this works is that I can multiply my means and my extremes together to create a cross product, and then it gives me a much easier opportunity for me to solve it. Let me show you what I mean. I can instead write it like this if I return to my fractions, which I usually prefer my fractions. A to B is equal to C over D. And what I would do is I just multiply the whatever number is on the opposite side. Let me find a color that's going to work better. Let's try this one. Sometimes it's called little butterfly wings, called lots of different ways. And I can then write this as this. This is supposed to be a D. I was very confused. It looked very much like an A. A times D equals B times C. And this then gives me a chance to solve this problem just like I would a typical variable expression, or a variable equation like we had been solving before. Okay? Let's take a look at an example. Example 1. It'll be short and sweet. I hope it'll fit on this page. Looks like this. A is to 4 as 6 is to 8. Now, it's likely we can do this one in our head, but let's take a look at what these cross products would give us. So I am going to be able to multiply the opposite corners to each other, and those corners are equal. So A times 8 equals 4 times 6, okay? 4 times 6 I know to be 24, and this would give me 8a. I can then divide both sides by 8, make sure I'm on the page, which would give me a, oops, forgot my equals, 24 divided by 8, 8, 16, 24 is 3. Now, up here I could have just multiplied this by 2, and I could have divided this by 2 and seen that it worked. But later when the numbers start getting much trickier, this is going to come in very, very handy. Let's quickly return to our previous example where we were doing some litter collecting. Oops. Example 2. All right, we know that for every piece, let's read this again. Every piece, she had to pick up 10 pieces for every piece that she dropped, and she dropped 15 pieces. So for every piece that she dropped, she has to pick up 10. And the question is, she dropped 15 pieces. How many pieces does she need to pick up? Now, this one would be easy to solve using our previous style, but let's take a look at solving it using cross products. Again, I'm going to remind myself that I'm going opposites, my means times my extremes. And I can see that I have x on one side, oops, wrong color, x equals 10 times 15. X equals 150. Well, I think that serves her right. She has a lot of pieces to pick up, and that's why you're not supposed to litter. If you feel like you get it and you want to go on, go ahead. I'm going to probably do about 2 more examples if you'd like. All right. X over 5 equals 6 to 10. We're going to cross product. So this just gives me x times 10 equals 6 times 5. 10x equals 30. Divide both sides by 10. I have x equals 3. Okay. One more. Example 4. B over 4 equals 12 over 16. B times 16 equals 12 times 4. 16b is, what is that? 24, 48. Divide both sides by 16. This is going to give me b. I'm guessing this is 3. 16 times 2 is 32 plus 16. It is. B also equals 3. Well, I think I see a little coincidence here, but that's all right. Hope that makes sense. and good luck.